You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 30th, 2022 meeting of the LaPorte County Board of Health. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, I call to order the meeting.
Turn your mic on.
Okay. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Uhas. I call to order the LaPorte County Board of Health meeting for August 30th. This is a makeup meeting because the last meeting we had back, I guess it was in July. Time flies. We didn't have an in-person quorum. We had a quorum on Zoom, but we didn't have live bodies up here. So when we took a vote, that didn't legally count because we didn't have a quorum. And rather than be outside the rules, we all agreed that we would come back in and redo the meeting. Now, we're not going to redo the reports from each department because that quarterly report was presented in person by the department heads and there was discussion and questions. So all we're doing is approving the notes from that meeting where it was discussed, and it is on Elko, and we could look at it
Right.
if there's any questions.
Approving the notes and accepting the report.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So that's the point of this meeting, and that's how I'm going to run it. And that means, in addition to call to order, we need a roll call.
Dr. Uhas,
Present.
Ms. Lawn. Here. Mr. Sandy.
Here.
Mrs. Arnold. Dr. Dora.
Here.
Dr. Manning Cox.
Here.
Dr. Nelson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 12th, 2022 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12th meeting as read in our previous meeting.
I'll second Mike's motion.
Any discussion? If not, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Anyone opposed? Okay, it passes. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? I see no one in the room, but we'll give it a moment. So second call for public comment, perhaps somebody's in the hall. And hearing no public comment, seeing no public, we move on. The next item is the reports and discussions. Dr. Ducey provided us with her health officer's report at the last meeting. We just need a motion to really accept it and not revisit the whole topic.
I make the motion to accept the health officers meeting that was presented in our July meeting and approve it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, health officer's report is accepted. Administrator report as presented at our July 19th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to accept the administrator's report?
Motion to accept the administrator's report.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? If not, vote please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Director of Environmental Health and Food Services report and discussions. Is there a motion to accept?
So move.
Who said that? Doctor? Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Director of Nursing report and discussion as presented in July of 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to accept the Director of Nursing's report?
I move that we accept the Director of Nursing's report.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No. Okay, nursing report accepted. Attorney's report. Is there a motion to accept the attorney's report from July of 2022 meeting?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The attorney's report is accepted. And finally, the topic of lifting the moratorium on Lakeshore Drive is back on the agenda. I'm going to ask for some clarification and a lot more discussion than the last time, because now we're here. We can see each other, you know.
Point of order.
Yes.
We didn't read any of the other reports. Why are we going to revisit this one? We have heard it, we've talked about it, and I make a motion that we deny the lifting of the moratorium. Nope.
If I may, the only reason why this is on the agenda is because there seemed to be some question as to whether or not everyone understood the position regarding the moratorium. If there isn't, and there aren't any questions, then the board can go forward with whatever decision they want to make. If there are issues that we want to talk about regarding, you know, why this is back on or what the purpose is as to why, how it correlates with the new law, then we can certainly have that discussion. If not, then the board is free to do as it wishes.
Only reason I say this is I know it went against the officers of this and the motion went down. To me, this is why we're revisiting this meeting, because of they weren't happy. Certain people were not happy with the way this vote went. And the majority of the board voted for it, to deny it.
Well, I take exception with Mr. Sandy's characterization that the only reason or the main reason we're having this meeting today is because the vote didn't go as some of the officers, quote unquote, wanted. The reason we're having this meeting today is because we did not have a quorum, and that became apparent after the meeting. So, because we could have put this on the agenda for the next meeting as new business to revisit it. So I really don't think it's fair to say the only reason we're here today is for this one item.
Maybe it's one of the reasons then.
Well, yes, because it's on the agenda and we need to review it.
Doctor, if I may as well, so that we do have a virtual meeting policy, and per that virtual meeting policy that the county has adopted, there are certain requirements in order to comply with open door law and Public Records Act and things like that. And one of those things is that we have to have a quorum of 50% or more physically present. And we didn't have that at the last meeting. And so if anyone were to challenge anything like the vote regarding the moratorium, they may have legal grounds in order to make that decision. So that's why we wanted in turn to have this meeting and revisit these things, so that any decision that's made by the board is legal and it can be held, and that we're in compliance with the policy that I
Weren't you at our last meeting? And as our attorney, why didn't you so tell us that at the meeting?
I did. I sent an email during the meeting, and the decision was, since there was nothing contested, I decided that the best result would be to let the meeting go and then determine how the board wanted to go forward. But now, given the fact that, you know, that there's questions regarding the moratorium and how it's still in place, and we have this new law, then that's why I decided we better have another meeting in case it does get challenged.
Okay.
But just to clarify, I did in fact send an email during the meeting in order to bring that up.
So I look at this as we're revisiting an issue that had been voted on and voted down, but I also believe that we have the right, I'm not sure that's the correct word, but we can put something back on the agenda as sort of a new topic or new business, even though it has already been brought up. One of the main reasons is what you just said, the laws in the state are changing. And in July, they added some new laws, and I'm not an attorney. And you and Amanda know a lot more about that. I was hoping that we could discuss it a little bit and get people more comfortable with understanding what's going on in the state. Because there are people on the lakefront that currently have septics that are excuse me, failing, they are going to want to either replace or repair it. They're not, those that need to replace it are not going to want to stay on pump and haul any longer than they have to. I understand the issues and we can talk about them. You know, the lake level is very low. And it will come back up again, but right now it's not back up again and there's a huge beach. So the other safety net was by denying people the right to replace or repair their septic, what we could offer them was not an endless vista of pump and haul, but we could point to and say, well, you know, in a year or two we're going to have sewers. Now that's not going to happen at this time. It may happen in the future. I don't know anything about the future plans for the sewers, but as it stands today, there are no sewers to hold out as a remedy in the near term. And we have people that want to replace or repair their septics. Amanda, am I correct? Are there people asking for that, or?
But yes, we get inquiries about it all the time, and we have received applications into the office recently for septic repairs.
Can you talk into the mic, please? Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, so you do get requests from homeowners on the lakefront
Correct.
in Long Beach
Yes.
to replace and repair and both?
Well, technically, a repair is a replacement. You really can't repair a septic
Okay.
system, so it is a replacement system.
All right.
But yes, we have received applications and inquiries in the office about that.
And if a moratorium is in place, we're sort of obliged to say no. Nope.
Not. So that's where it becomes the confusion. Yes, the moratorium is still in place. However, with the new passing of House and Road Act 1245, if they are able to meet code, we can't deny them a permit.
That's correct.
So having a moratorium when we can't deny the permit is like a useless appendage. It's like a sixth finger. It's just in the way, but it doesn't stop people from requesting a new septic. And if they qualify, meaning, you know, all the testing and soil and safety to the lake, we can't deny it.
Correct.
If they meet the criteria, the
Yeah.
elements of the new law, our moratorium does nothing. It just creates more confusion, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why the recommendation was what it was last time. But again, you guys are the board. You decide what you want to do.
Well, you're the expert.
So right, exactly. But in turn, though, again, as we've stated, you know, there are state laws that the health department have to follow, and our moratorium does nothing to prevent them from being able to apply for that. You know, one of the things that they need to show is to have their specific experts basically tell the health department that this is appropriate, and we are not able to do anything about that. If they meet that criteria, then by law we are to issue them the permit. So when we have a moratorium in place that says no, we can't move along in this manner, it just creates confusion for the public. And so that's why if the moratorium is not doing anything as far as preventing anyone from applying, then as your legal counsel, and from what I understand from the health department, it would just be the recommendation to end the moratorium so that it doesn't have cause confusion, and also that we're in straight compliance with the new law.
Well, didn't you say last time that the way to get around the moratorium, where you get the two soil scientists and the septic system, wouldn't go in effect for a year? Wouldn't that? What?
So what goes in effect in a year is
Home.
home rule for the code for septic system ends. So we can't be more restrictive period after July 2023. Our ordinances are all gone except for when it comes to fees, essentially.
Is it when it comes to what?
Fees,
Fees, okay. All right.
permit fees and the such.
Well, to
So-
me, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
So right now, what in effect this year, on July 1st, 2022, was if a health department cannot deny an application for a septic system and permit if the system meets code.
And by meeting code,
By meeting 410 IAC 6-8.3.
which is where the two, we're kind of tag teaming this. So that when it meets code, what that entails is if it complies with the experts that they bring in, right?
The experts come into play if we say that it does not meet code. If we deny a permit, then they can come in with their expert saying that it does.
Point out to us how this is different now, where when 6 months ago, when we were still looking at septics or sewers and stuff, what changed here? How is not having a moratorium now going to be different? Because would you have denied anybody coming in with requests or applications, and now you have to honor those? Explain the difference of what.
Right, before we weren't accepting any applications other than for pump and haul.
Right.
That was the only thing that they could do on the lakeside of Lakeshore Drive. But now with this law that went in effect this July, if an application comes in and it meets code, we have to issue a permit.
Right.
If
So
we deny that permit and they bring in their 3 experts saying it does meet the code, we have to do it anyway. But we have to list why when we deny a permit, we have to list why it's not meeting with this section of this code.
Right. So the moratorium back then, strictly speaking, was a no for septic, and it was for septic repair or replacement, and it was just to allow pump and haul.
That was to allow pump and haul, to allow people to still utilize their homes on the
Right.
lakeside.
Otherwise, we'd have to shut the house down.
They would have
So
to
now,
condemned.
now, we can't do that. We can't say, no, you can't have a new septic. We have to evaluate it.
Right. And if it meets code, then
And if it meets code, we have to do it. That's the difference. I understood where we came with the moratorium in the first place. Water levels were high, septics were breached, and there was a remedy in sight down the road for a new sewer system. That's changed. There is no sewer system currently in the works. There may be, not saying there won't be. And at the same time, yes, I know the lake goes up and down. I've lived on the lake. But at the same time, right now the lake is down. And one of the compelling features of that moratorium was, if you recall, many of us went out to the lakefront, took pictures, and saw waves coming over the break walls. You know, I went down with my camera and sent it to you guys. There was a very well done drone image of the lakefront with homes and seawalls being slammed. At that time, it would have been impossible to continue with septics. And then we had, so it was pump and haul from a tank, right? That's what holds it. And then we were waiting for the sewer. Now everything's upside down. The laws have changed, the lake level is down, and it may go back up again, and we'll have to all deal with it at the same time, at that time. But right now it's down, and we don't have a sewer to offer them as a remedy. So that's why, to me, having a bad law that is not able to be followed is not a good idea. Have our policies clean. If we need to have a moratorium some point, yeah, we can do it. If we have the same conditions as in the past, except for the fact that there's all these new laws that take away home rule.
exactly. So to answer your question, Mr. Sandy, the difference is in a year, that's when the home rule comes in, it changes everything. As of right now, as of June 30th, that was the date, right?
July 1st.
July 1st, that's when what Amanda explained goes into effect. So if in fact they apply and they comply with the new law, then we have to do that way. We can still deny it, and then they can come back as Plan B.
I understand that, in me, we're bending over. One of our richest resources is Lake Michigan. Just because the state down south says, okay, let's do it this way, doesn't mean that we have to agree. We can say no, and then we understand the law. Now that part, if something falls down and all the sewer goes into Lake, it's not what the board said, it's what the legislature in Indianapolis stated. So why should we, well, they can still do it. I agree with you, they can do it if they get the right science, but we shouldn't say, we're giving away too much local power. I understand they took it from us, but,
Yeah.
and I want to say something about the lake being down. They still can't go within so many feet of the high water mark. That's still county or state property, isn't that correct? No matter where the lake falls, it's the normal
It's
high
order-
water mark.
Ordinary.
Ordinary high water mark, OHWN, yeah. They have to be, if they're within 200 feet, they have to have a secondary treatment, an ATU, and they can't have anything within 50 feet.
But, and part of this discussion too, I think where there's a little bit of confusion is the fact that if they meet code, we're not able to deny them the permit. So it's, you know, that's where the language in the statute kind of ties our hands, is like,
Well, I understand that.
we can't say no if they meet.
We're not just bending over backwards and letting everybody put anything they want in.
I mean, I think it be made very clear, as you know, the position of the board regarding, but as far as complying with state law, our hands are tied. Unless we want some lawsuits, which I'm sure the board does not want.
Doctor has the floor. Dr. Cox.
Thank you. I understand that the state law takes precedence over Trump's the denial, the local. My question is that I don't really see where it's confusing, because any attorney or someone who's familiar with the laws that govern this particular situation would know that even though the board can say, you know, our ordinance or whatever it states that no, you cannot have a septic, and we say no, they come back and said, but we have the permits, we have the soil experts that state that we can do it. And then how can we, I mean, we just can't just say, no, we refuse, you cannot do it. No. I mean, we're reasonable people, and what we state is reasonable. We are saying no now based upon what the history of the situation has been. We recognize that the state has presented another position on this, and I feel that's okay. Because if you say, no, you can do it, and it's legal, and you're not going to harm, you know, people and the ecology, well, I'm quite sure there are reasonable people who understand that. Of course that's going to trump that, because these people have to live, and it's their right. But I don't see where it's confusing if we already know that, yes, you know, we are in denial, but we reasonably understand if the experts come and say they can do it, fine. But what, for me, that brings another step where we're sure that there's someone, that there's some accountability there. We're sure that there's some other eyes that are looking to see that this is something that will go fine. And we have a year for this to kind of work itself out. You know, for people to get used to it. I don't see where the confusion is, because as a reasonable, rational person, I would say, yeah, but isn't this law this way? Okay, well, let me bring my experts. No problem. And they need to have that anyway. Don't they need to have that in order to approve a septic being placed in? It's the same difference. But what it does is at least it makes those people comfortable in the town that we are looking at this carefully.
So the whole process of getting a septic permit is, of course, starts with the application, and they have to have a soil scientist, an Indiana registered soil scientist,
Correct.
who has a degree in and soils.
Right.
And they also hire an engineer to design their system for them. And they have it surveyed and everything else, and it comes through our office and we review all of that. So we are going through the code, the 410 code, to make sure that this system as designed and this soils as stated in the code already meets all of that. So we're not just issuing, if you come to us for a septic permit, we're not just issuing a permit. We are following and going through all of that, which we would normally do in the situation anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And the denial, well, that's moot. You know, you can't deny something where it's given today's laws is adequate. But the thing is, it gives people a chance to, for them to make sure, because you know what? There's a question sometimes that maybe people are having, their friends to come in, or maybe a contractor they know. At least they know there's some other eyes that are on this, and they are sure that this is, and we have a whole year to be able to go through this. And people can understand. It's about educating all the people, not just those people who have enough money to get by these things. And that's what people are thinking. People are talking. They want to make sure that this is good for us and that our government and people in charge are looking out for our benefits. That's all I feel that it is.
I have a quick legal question. If this moratorium were to stay in effect, which I've never thought that moratoriums are supposed to last forever. I always thought they probably should have an end date, but that's aside of that. If for some reason we did keep that moratorium in effect and we did require people to go downstate with their attorney and their experts, could that come back at us? Like, can we be held responsible for an extra pump and haul? Can we be held responsible for that? That's my curiosity, is if by keeping this moratorium that's not going to be worthwhile here in a minute, if that's going to cost us money, that's going to be just thrown out the window.
Well, I think there's still some confusion. July 1st, we can't deny someone who applies based just on the moratorium.
Just come on into the mic a little closer.
Okay, is that better, Doctor?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't deny people that apply based on the moratorium if they meet the code, the new laws. So then, yes, if for some reason somehow we do deny someone based on the moratorium and they meet the code, that could definitely come back and be a litigated matter. It opens up the issue of whether or not we denied their application based on something that shouldn't even be allowed. Right? So when we say that in a year the home rule is taken away and that our rules can't be more restrictive, that has nothing to do with what's going on now with the moratorium, in my opinion, because of the fact that if someone, again, were to apply and they meet the code, and let's say we have a disagreement with that and they don't, and we say we're denying that based on the fact of ABC reasons that are in line with the code, that is okay. But then they can come back and present their own experts. And then we have no say as to whether or not it's approved or not.
Right.
It is approved. So that's where, to answer your question regarding the confusion, I think that's what's confusing, is the fact that we have this moratorium that says no to all of this when there's state law that dictates that we have to approve some of these things based on A, B, C reasons. And even if it is denied on one of those reasons, we can still come back and apply for it based on the expert opinions. So I think that's where the confusion is.
My point is that you are our attorney.
Yeah.
And you tell us there's no reason to deny this. I don't think anyone in here would, because we rely on your expert opinion.
Oh, you're saying deny the actual application?
Yeah, no, that's not something that you are our attorney.
Sure.
And if you say this application fulfills all the requirements that, in essence, the board would be concerned about.
Right.
then we should go forward, and we will probably, I think, to the man.
Yeah, just to clarify a couple things there, I
No.
don't review the applications. That their
No.
health department does that specifically, and they do a great job, and they know
Right, but
everything.
you're our advisor,
Right.
legal advisor.
If something were to come up and they ask me, well, we're denying it because of this reason, then yes, at that point we would look at it and discuss that. But again, I mean, I think the discussion here regarding lifting the moratorium, that's where, the recommendation would be that, in fact, there is no reason to have the moratorium based on the law that went into effect July 1st. And
The word.
say again?
We're lifting the word moratorium. That's what we're trying to do. Because you're right, in practice, we're not applying it anymore. When we're talking about the application, going back to when we passed the moratorium, there were no applications accepted. Everybody was either it works, or you go to pump and haul, or your house is closed down. Now, we're all accepting applications. We're reviewing each application for appropriateness, and then what happens after that, if people agree or disagree, that's not even what we're discussing. But it's the word moratorium that bothers me because we're not applying it anymore. When we had the moratorium, there were no applications accepted. Correct? Amanda, am I?
Correct, we were not accepting applications.
And now we are. That's all. So we lift the moratorium on applications because we're accepting them. That's has basic. I see it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. And by law we're required to do that. I guess that's all I can say. I mean, it's an actual law, and that's why we're following it.
Right.
Regardless of whether or not we have the moratorium or the word is used, we still have to comply with permits that
Accept
we
the
receive.
applications.
And we deny it if there are reasons to deny it, and we must accept it if in fact they meet all the requirements by code.
Correct.
All right.
That's it.
Well, are there any more comments on this? Dr. Dora, is there anything you want to add to this?
I just want to say that, when we originally did the moratorium, I thought it was a good thing, and I still have a lot of sympathy for those feelings, okay? I don't like looking at pictures of field tile draining into Lake Michigan, but I think at this point, though, I just think our hands are tied. We can't fight the state law. We're not going to ask you to go fight something as an attorney that has no merit. I mean, so I don't know what we do at this point, other than just to lift it. So, but I share some of their feelings still. I'll vote to
Absolutely.
share their feelings. Yeah.
I mean, if I may, Doctor, I think everyone is interested in making sure that the environment and people are protected and homes are used correctly and that septic systems are functioning. But at some point, whenever a law is given to us and it sets out these standards, we really can't do anything. Our hands are tied, just like you said. But certainly we have our opinions regarding this, and Amanda and I have talked. There are some concerns, even if we deny it, that's a whole nother, conversation. Even if we deny it,
Deny what?
the application or the permit,
Okay.
right, based on reasons we feel legitimate, the health department their position can be put aside based on the fact that experts can come in and tell them, no, this is okay. But that's the law, and if it needs to be changed, that's not something that we're able to do. And that's the problem. That's downstate. We talk to your legislator if you have an issue with that, right? Just look to resolve it that way. But at this point, as your legal counsel, I want to protect you from anything happening to the board or the health department or the county. And so that's why the recommendation that we made is what it is, because we need to comply with state law. And if we don't, yes, something can happen. Claims can be filed against the health department. We want to prevent any of that. That's the reason for the position.
Okay. Any other comments? Dr. Cox? You good? Thank you, ma'am. Ellie?
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. Mike?
I'm fine
Final
with it.
words?
Let's
Doctor?
vote.
Good.
All right. Then I will entertain a motion to put the concept is we get rid of the moratorium. That's the language, or discontinue the moratorium. Is that about the right language?
Yeah, I mean, the I don't have the moratorium in front of me, but yes, that would be everything that we've talked about is regarding the application, and that's what the moratorium was about. And lifting the moratorium, if that's the motion, that would mean that we no longer have anything on our books as a policy that prevents someone from applying or requesting a permit or discussing or installing. So that's what the concept would entail of lifting the moratorium.
So the better language is lifting the moratorium. All right, let's take a vote on lifting the moratorium.
Need a motion put in
Yes.
forward.
Yeah, I know.
That's correct. There is a motion on the table before the discussion.
Motion. Oh, you want
I'm not voting for it.
did you put a motion on the table?
Wasn't seconded, so it dies.
I'll do it. I'll make a motion that we lift the moratorium on septics on the north side of Lake
Is
Shore
there a
Drive.
second?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against?
Aye.
One,
I
you abstain?
I still have some questions I don't understand.
Okay. So we have 3 in favor of lifting the moratorium, 1 abstain, and 1 nay. Is it lifted?
Yeah, three.
Yeah,
Majority?
The majority, you guys.
the majority rules.
Okay.
All right, the moratorium is lifted.
Moratoriums were meant to be temporary,
Yeah, I agree. It's time.
but I am also sympathetic to the situation. It's just not the current
But I
situation.
think we all are.
It's not the current situation.
I'm very sympathetic to that.
Well, you know what?
Opinion.
I think all of us believe that they should have,
Water, as you said,
you know,
water
they
should
should
come
be
back
able
up.
to
It's-
get theirs.
It's
And then
gonna
we'll
happen.
have to deal with,
It'll
But as
happen
long
again.
as it's done according to,
But
All right.
it's not gonna be because we didn't.
Move
try.
on, we'll go home.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, seeing no further items on the agenda, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
so move.
I would love to second that.
I would love to third that. Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed that'd like to stay here a little longer, say no.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Enthusiastic.
No, you know what?
Recording stopped.
Just to state, we still have our meeting for the next quarter, right, Julie? What, can you remind everyone what that date is?
October,
October 11th at 4 o'clock.
October 11th, and then as the virtual meeting policy is still in place. So let's make sure that we have a quorum physically present. And what I would ask is if for some reason you can't make it and you want to appear via Zoom, just let Julie know. And then that way we can balance out who's via Zoom, who's here physically. Exactly, correct. So that we don't get caught off guard.
Yeah,
when we show up at the
nobody
meeting.
signed up for Zoom is what
Is
happened.
this being present quorum, is that a county, something in our?
So we
county?
I sent the email I sent this lays it all out a little bit
Yeah.
better. But just to give you an explanation, when everything happened with COVID and boards started to meet back up regularly, there was a virtual meeting policy that the county adopted for all its boards, and basically that falls in line with open door laws that are put in place since COVID. And so what it asks for is that it gives you the opportunity to appear via Zoom for one meeting, and then the next meeting you have to be here physically so that you're not always just appearing via Zoom. And secondly, it requires that more than 50% of the board be actually physically present. So those are the,
you're saying the same person can't be on Zoom every time, right? Isn't it that you just said you have to?
2 in a row.
right, again, I don't have the policy right in front of me, I have it memorized. But in that email I sent, it lays it all out. You can do like 2 and 1. Oh, there it is, look.
Thanks, Julie.
Indiana code itself requires a quorum.
This requires what?
It requires a quorum.
Right,
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Health board, regardless, you have to have a quorum to be able to vote.
Yeah, at least 50% of the members must be physically present at the meeting at which member will participate by means of electronic communication, and not more than 50% of the members may participate by electronic means of communication at the same meeting. A member may not attend more than 50% of the hearings in a calendar year by electronic means of communication unless the member's participation is due to
Health issues, military service, whatever.
a member may attend 2 consecutive meetings by electronic communication. A member must attend in person at least 1 meeting between the 2 sets of meetings that the member attends by electronic communication. There's your answer.
Whatever that
So
means.
if you miss,
Most of that isn't for somebody that meets every quarter.
right, that's where,
Truly,
exactly right. That's right.
truly.
All right, everyone.
That was an exciting meeting.
Was.